As South Africa joins the global community in observing World Hypertension Day, citizens are urged to prioritize regular health screenings. Marked under the theme, Measure Your Blood Pressure Accurately, Control It and Live Longer, the day highlights the urgent need to tackle rising hypertension rates. With nearly 1 in 3 South African adults living with the high blood pressure, the condition remains a leading cause of strokes, heart attacks and other serious health issues. Physiotherapist and founder of Suede Wellness, Ramauthar, joins us for more. Good evening, Sue. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Just talk us through, firstly, the importance of World Hypertension Day and the current statistics of 1 in 3 living with blood pressure.
Hi, I'm Fundo. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here this evening. So I think hypertension is something that we really cannot overlook. When we look at some of the potential causes that could contribute to developing hypertension, and we look at the trajectory that our lives are moving in, it's something that we really can't ignore or take for granted. When we look at the causes of hypertension, we're looking at things like, from a physiotherapy perspective, tight, sore muscles or muscle tension, poor posture, stress. These things will reduce your circulation, will constrict your blood vessels, and will ultimately put a lot of strain on the more systemic areas of your body, resulting in things like hypertension.
Now, this year's theme is Measure Your Blood Pressure Accurately, Control It and Live Longer. Very important message, which of course indicates that this is manageable. Nobody has to die, as we hear that if left untreated, it could lead to strokes, heart attacks. So just talk us through this theme.
I think one of the most prevalent facts around hypertension is the fact that it's regarded as the silent killer, where essentially you could live with it for decades and not know about it and present with very generic symptoms. You could have a little bit of dizziness, you could have a little bit of pain and tension behind your head. There's nothing that is specific to the symptoms, and usually people pick it up at these routine screenings. And the thing that we want to avoid is getting to the point that it's actually going to result in some sort of permanent damage or disability, like a stroke or a heart attack, as you mentioned earlier.
Now, is there a specific age when perhaps we should start getting these screenings quite regularly?
I would say usually around 40 is when you need to be a little bit more consistent and regular with your screenings. But, given, like I mentioned, the fact that our lives are becoming more sedentary, we're becoming creatures of a more sort of relaxed, sitting at your computer, working from your phone. We're not walking as much as we used to previously. We find that a lot of youngsters are now coming through with hypertension. And as you mentioned earlier, 1 in 3 adults have been diagnosed with hypertension in South Africa. And within that population, over 50% of those 1 in 3 adults don't even know that they're hypertensive. The age demographic is actually getting lower, where we're finding 35 to 44-year-olds are now being diagnosed as well. There's a stat that's as close as to 27% of 35 to 44-year-olds developing hypertension. And as we get older, obviously that statistic will increase. So we're looking at 55 to 64-year-olds sitting at about a 54% hypertensive rate.
Sure. So meaning we could probably start screening a bit earlier than 40. But then if we had to look beyond just the lifestyle, the fact that many people are now inactive, what are some of the foods that could possibly be triggers here that many should possibly avoid?
I think the commonest thing is salt. Finding ways to just reduce your salt intake, to find natural alternatives, natural herbs that will flavor your food. And this can be done in a safe environment with the consultation of a dietitian, who will be able to guide you as to easy ways to sort of minimize your salt intake through the day. But when we talk about also support and, finding a solution to this hypertension epidemic that is moving across the world right now, we need to also realize that we ourselves as the human species have the capability to manage our hypertension state by doing simple things like moving more, introducing more regular exercise into our day, finding opportunities to move. Also, like you mentioned, reducing our salt intake is a major factor. But managing stress, I think, is something that also gets overlooked quite a lot. Finding ways to improve your breathing, often we find ourselves breathing very shallowly, faster breaths, and that as well puts a lot of strain on your cardiovascular system. So just taking a few minutes every day to align your breath, to align your spine, to allow your body to sit in a more neutral position, to allow your muscles to function as they should. This is what I do on a daily basis, help people kind of get their bodies in a more aligned position to reduce strain on their cardiovascular system, on their blood vessels, to allow the body to function better.
Sue, thank you very much for your insights. I'll be taking the stairs when I leave work this evening. Thank you very much. That's physiotherapist and founder of Suede Wellness, Sue Ramauthar, speaking to us there.